And I'm Travis Marker. I'm the attorney with Marker Law Mediation, also part of Steward Growth. America Francis is the director of Steward Growth, and we're happy to have her here. And Jenny and Lisa are part of Steward Growth projects in a variety of different ways. So it's kind of hard to say they wear one hat, but we're glad that they're here today to help in some of the discussions. And we're going to be talking about when life gives you lemons. That's the theme of this hour, and we're going to explore some ideas. We have Steph and her husband who are present as visitors, and everybody is welcome as a visitor. So if you have anybody who you'd like to invite, everybody's more than welcome. We want to make this as relevant as possible, so we're going to throw it out initially for questions like what, and maybe Steph, this is since you guys are visiting, what brought you in? Like, what type of lemon are you dealing with that you'd like to make into lemonade? Or I'm going to say limoncello gelato instead, like, because that is way better.
Um, we just experienced, my husband just got laid off his whole department at the end of June. And so now we're both struggling to try to find jobs because now I've got to go back to work
Yeah,
and he's trying to find a job. So we're just kind of in limbo.
got it. And that, it, I anticipate that one of the feelings that you're feeling or potentially fear and anxiety just about like what's next. Is that probably the starting place?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And so like let's play with that a little bit. What is causing fear? What is causing anxiety? Like what type of solutions are you trying to figure out?
Um, well, I guess the biggest fear is where's the income gonna come from?
Okay.
See, now I bawl. Sorry, I cry real easy.
Yeah.
Um,
Nobody is like that in this group. Nobody ever does that. So
um, just making ends meet. My struggle is that um, I haven't worked in 20 years, so
uh-huh.
getting hired is kind of hard. But I mean, that's just kind of where the fear is that we're just not going to be able to find anything.
Got it. And I think that is a totally reasonable fear, right? Because you are at a spot where you don't know. You're at a spot where you haven't had to be thinking about it. You're at a spot where, other things were kind of in your mind, and so you didn't have to have them on your burner. Like you didn't have to worry about whether they were possible or not possible. So now you're at this spot where it's like definitely you have to pay attention to it. You have to decide, how am I going to solve this problem? I'm going to say from personal experience that this is super exciting for you. It may not seem super exciting at the moment, but I'm telling you from personal experience, like this is the most exciting like moment because you also get to recreate what's going to happen. Like you may have like preconceived notions about what you think might be happening, but the opportunity for God to intervene in your life, for manifestation to intervene in your life, for your own desires to intervene in your life, like you get to recreate the rules going forward, and you don't have to live like a certain like way. There might be a variety of ways that we solve the problem, or that solutions are brought into your life that help solve the problem. So it's not that you have to say, um, I need it to be like this or it will probably not happen, because we live in a world that is so different from that now. Like with COVID, a lot of people were super stressed because they didn't know if they were going to make it, and a lot of people did, and it's so revolutionized the workplace that people don't go into work anymore, right? And so we don't have waiters, we don't have a lot of these different people who used to be help staff because somehow they figured it out, or they would be there, right? They would have returned. So I think it's cool that we I appreciate that it doesn't feel cool to you because you're like, this guy's psycho and I'm stranded, and I need to figure this out. But I also think if once you kind of get past the initial fear of it, I think you're gonna find it to be pretty exciting. This Yeah, go ahead, America.
So I've kind of been there recently, and I wanted to point out that part of the reason we have this group is for people who have gone from the place of fear to something better can support you. It's the emotional support, because when you're in that place, you wonder what will happen. You kind of feel by yourself. Like, I have to solve this problem by myself, and I need to find the income by myself. but as a group, we're here to help you find solutions. So maybe you're not just looking for a job by yourself, but you're looking for a job with other people who know people. And I'm really excited that I was looking for more income a few months ago, because that's how I got involved with Steward Growth. And it's been a really a supportive place for me. And it's been a really exciting opportunity to meet people and to do good things. So
Yeah,
I
awesome.
understand, and we're here to help.
Oh, good.
What about Jenny or Lisa? Do you guys have thoughts on identifying with them, or maybe where we're going to go from here?
I have some thoughts.
Yeah, go
So,
ahead, Lisa.
it was right around the recession, and I might cry because, you know, when you're in that financial pinch or you don't know what's going to do, it can bring up some emotions. But I remember my husband, he was doing construction at the time, and I was working at the hospital, and we were trying to figure out, because we knew the recession was coming and it was going to get bad, and what we were going to do to try to not go bankrupt. That was kind of our goal. It was to try to figure out how do we, you know, survive, because we know that, you know, all of the money that was coming in from the construction industry was just going away. There was just no builds coming, and we just didn't know what to do. So my husband kind of had some foresight, and so we started going to school to become a firefighter paramedic. And he had an opportunity to interview with a part-time fire department. And we were so excited because we're like, yes, this will bring in the revenue we need. It will just help cover the bills. You know, he may have to work another job, or we may have to figure out something else, but at least it's some money coming in besides my paycheck. And things were at that point were like really tight, and we didn't know what we were going to do. And so we were praying, and we're like, okay, Heavenly Father, this is our answer. We know that this is what's going, you know, what we need to do. So he practiced for his interview and everything. And he went to the interview and he tanked. And he did not get the job. And we were devastated. And I remember sitting in bed that night, and we had said a prayer to our Heavenly Father. And it was like, I didn't want to thank him for the things that we had, because it felt so overwhelming, because we didn't know if we were even going to be able to, you know, provide for our family for the next month. And another opportunity came up that wasn't part-time, that was full-time down in Murray to be a firefighter. And he interviewed for that, and he ended up getting that job. And you don't recognize the gratitude in some things until you have some space and perspective on it. But it took us maybe 5 years to be able to look back and say, God had a plan for us, and that part-time job wasn't going to help our family, but the full-time job was. So we may have had some, you know, tumultuous times. We were trying to figure out, we had to have help from other people and whatnot. But at the end of the day, something came better out of him not getting the job that we thought was going to save our bacon. And so sometimes, even though that we do things scared, when we really put it in Heavenly Father's hand and say, okay, help lead the way, help find those people that are going to bring me in and like help me find what I need for me and my family. I truly believe that's something that happens. And every time that I've done that within my own business or with whatever I've been creating, it may not have been immediate. It was just more of continuing to live every day, knowing that Heavenly Father had me in his thoughts, and that as I created action and movement, people would walk into my life to help me be where I was meant to be.
That's awesome. That's a great story. And I think you're right. Like sometimes we can't like be so excited about the first option, because it may not be the ultimate option, but maybe it was part of the path or part of the journey, part of the learning process, so that we could like get to the next level. I totally agree with that. What about you, Jenny? Do you have
I do. and you know this story, Travis. And I think I told America the other day. I'd worked for the same law firm for probably 15 years, and I'd had my baby. And I took a couple months off and then came back to work in September. And things were changing at the law firm. There was a couple of attorneys that were leaving. The office manager was leaving, and I was told that I would keep my job. Things were going to be safe. I was good. And then 2 weeks before Christmas, one of my bosses came to me and said, "Today's your last day. Here's your paycheck." I had a 5-month-old. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was devastated. I applied for so many jobs and went to so many job interviews and did not understand why I was not getting a job. I had so much experience. I had a college degree. It just didn't make sense. And then my husband and I prayed about it, and we decided that I was supposed to be home with Brindley. And so I stayed home, and one day I got a phone call from Travis. And he kept bugging me and calling me. And I finally was like, okay, I want to do this. I will come and work for you. And it has been the best thing. I didn't realize what a toxic environment I was in until I started working for Travis, because the environment with Travis is not toxic at all. And I was in a very toxic environment.
And you get to work from home and like,
I get to work from home. Absolutely.
yeah, I've always appreciated Jenny because she's a very loyal mom. And I've always just said, I don't care what you do because I recognize that was your first priority. Just as long as you help me get through my stuff. And you've always done a good job getting me through my stuff. So it was definitely good for both of us. So I'm grateful that you didn't have a job.
I wanted to make a plug for this book that I like that's called What Color is Your Parachute? Because it helps you get really clear and define the job that you're looking for. And my husband's been through a lot of job changes, and I've done a lot of part-time work over many years. And I've just found it really useful as a tool to get a lot of different decisions made about what my needs are and my wants are for a job. And I just find it's much easier to find something if you know what you're looking for. It's worth the time.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So Steph, what are your husband like? What as we've been speaking, kind of like what are thoughts that come to your mind about like what's your next step or
Well, I've interviewed probably 4. I've applied for a bunch of stuff and interviewed and not gotten anything yet. And it's like, well, what's wrong with me?
We can answer that. There's nothing wrong with you.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with you.
Oh, thank you.
There's nothing wrong with you.
There's nothing worse than having, it feels like your self-esteem stomped on when someone else gets gets the job.
Feels personal.
Yeah, it really does. And I know it's not. And I'm looking at, I stayed home and raised my kids for 23 years. That was the option. And we were able to do that. And my husband's job made it so that I could be home with them. And our youngest is now on a mission. So we're trying to keep him on his mission. And luckily he's doing great. And then we've got 2 other daughters that are in their 20s. So, but they're still living with us. So it's not like we're destitute, but it's just really hard to get back in. And it's like, a lot of it is who you know. And I haven't been in the workforce for so long. I don't know anybody anymore.
You know lots of people. You know lots of moms. You know
That's
lots
true.
of coaches and teachers and church people or whoever, like community members. Moms have a lot of transferable skills. And there's help for that, getting those skills put on your resume. You haven't been sitting around watching TV and eating chocolate for 23 years. You've been doing lots of great things and building people, and just the organization and you know, that you list all the things that moms do. It's a lot of very good things that are valuable that people will pay for.
Exactly.
That's what I'm hoping.
So,
Hey,
so
Jeff, sorry. Do you care if I ask her a question real quick?
go ahead.
Jeff, what are you looking for? Not just like any job, but if you had your dream job, what does that entail? What does that look like?
My dream job.
Besides
Originally,
staying home, I guess, for right
yeah.
now.
I loved being home. I really, when I used to work at America First before I quit. So, I mean, I would be happy sitting as a receptionist, just being able to talk to people. Um, just kind of low. I don't want a high stress job. I mean, I've got a bachelor's degree, but it's not like I want to go, and it's in business. So I really don't want to go be a corporate, thug or anything like that and be in the middle of that. But I mean, I'd even work at this. I've applied for like secretaries at like Weaver School District and stuff like that, just where I'm around people and you can talk to people, you know, but the ones that I've interviewed for like Ogden Clinic and stuff like that for just receptionist, and I'm sure they find younger, cuter, have more experience in that. And so, I mean, I've even now applied now with the credit union again to see if I can get back in with them. And I know some people there. So it's
Okay, so but coming back to what Lisa's asking though, what
my
why is
dream job.
yeah, why is a receptionist your dream job? Like you woke up and you're like, I'm just so excited to go be a receptionist today.
It doesn't
Is that
seem,
the truth?
I guess, well, my dream job. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, you do. You know what your dream job is.
If I could crochet for a living,
Okay, that's good.
I mean, is that, and my husband's snickering, but seriously, that's, if I could make blankets and sell them, but it's so expensive to do it. And, so, and it's low stress and I can just sit down and do something, you know what I'm saying? That's easy. I guess I'm not lazy, but I've kind of, I don't have to run anymore. I don't have to run the kids anywhere anymore. So it's kind of been nice to just kind of veg a little bit.
You might be able to find a combination that allows crocheting too.
That would be cool.
Okay, so
Actually,
here's the difference is you get to decide what makes you excited, right? Like you
Yeah.
and you if you're in a place of transition, if you're in a place of excitement, which is this transition place, which is scary, why would you pick something boring to do? Like, why would you pick something that doesn't make you want to get out of bed? Like, why would you this is your chance to say, I get to actually decide if I'm going to fulfill my purpose in life, or like most of us here are LDS. So it's like, what's your patriarchal blessing say? What are your aptitudes? Like the parachute book is really great. There's also 16 personalities is another test you can take online. There's another one from the what was that? What was the strengths one? Where's the strengths ones at? That's it.
that's from
The
now that you're asking me.
I know that's what but there's a variety of ways to find your strengths. But the next time, like this is the
Gallup.
spot where you,
It's from Gallup.
yeah, Gallup, you're right. So if you're able to say, like, this is my new beginning, and like I personally, there's more to my story, but I cannot have a 40-hour job. So you have to ask different questions. You have to say, what type of gaps am I trying to fill? So you mentioned like income. So if you say, well, what is the income gap I need to fill? And if between you and your husband, let's say it's $6,000 or it's 10 grand, you don't look at, well, what hourly job is going to get me 10 grand? You say, how do I get 10 grand? Because you have to change the paradigm from how do I work enough hours to get money to how do I just get the money? Because you may not have to work a whole month to get 10 grand. You might be able to work a day and get 10 grand. And this comes into our strategic manifestation group, which we also hold, is that we talk about how you set goals with a vision in mind towards an outcome rather than hoping if I just play the game and I get the hourly job, then I'll be able to fix my gap. Where instead you say, how do I solve the gap? And then you work with God and your inspiration and the universe to say, in your mind's eye, you have to create a spiritual vision in your brain that says, I have the impression this is how I solve that gap. And then you work towards that instead of working towards normal systems that are just kind of your cultural references that hopefully solve that gap, but are also kind of oppressive and boring and whatever. So I think whatever you create from this day forward, you want to be excited to get out of bed every day. So I'm going to say with 100% surety, you could make 10 grand with crocheting.
Yeah, you could do YouTube videos, you could do classes for young people, you could crochet some giant custom beautiful thing.
Yeah. There's a 100% chance you could make 10 grand a month with crochet. Do you believe that?
Oh, I believe it, but it would require a lot of
Wait.
startup
Just,
costs.
no. You don't know that yet. You don't know. You just start with, I believe that.
Maybe all the yarn is donated.
Yeah, you could, because see, we're a
Oh, that's
nonprofit.
true.
See, we're a nonprofit, and so because we're a nonprofit, we
Maybe the yarn company gives you the yarn to make a promotional item that's really big and exciting for them.
yeah. So it's all about how we solve the gap, not how but you have to be willing to leave traditional models in order to do it.
Gotcha.
Because see, as the Steward Growth, even though it's a nonprofit, it doesn't mean we don't make money. Because the way what Steward Growth relates to is helping people become more self-reliant. And part of that is the idea that they have to make money. And we have to make money but the nonprofit side means that we are helping people from a disadvantaged position. We're not out to just make for profit where we're sharing money with with investors and things like that. We're making money so that we can put it back in our endowment and we can keep helping people and helping people get, to the next level. So
all of us invest in the team and the clients.
Right, exactly. But we're all expected to have a money mindset that says, God wants me to be prosperous because if I'm prosperous, I can do more good. I can serve people. I can help people. I can bless people. I can help, in a variety of different ways. So it's totally okay to say you can make as much money as you want doing the things that you love. So we're going to start with, there's 100% chance you can make a 10 grand doing crochet because you love it. And we can help you. But the next thing is, so we say, so how would you do it? And that's the brainstorm that we would play with by way of creating an action plan and a business plan and ways to do those type of things. Because as America started up, like YouTube channels, they make a lot of money on ad revenue. Instagram makes money on ad revenue as well as tutorials, as well as selling product. So if you are an expert on crocheting, which if you have a passion that you might have some niche information that becomes super valuable, you build your information around that niche information that's valuable to you. And then people start to align with that and they're excited about that. We're going to turn the time over to Lisa Wayment, who's our networking person. What do you think, Lisa? How does she build a network on her niche?
Well, the nice thing is TikTok is a great platform for stuff like that. Once you get 1,000 followers, you can start adding your website. And so a lot of the times it's just putting it out there. It's talking about what you love. And then I will not lie, I love the people who do the mowing for free of the people's yard. It is so lethargic to watch. And so it is, I love it. And I love that they're doing something nice for each other. So there's different things that people enjoy. But the thing is I've been looking up on Etsy and things like that, and washcloths just for the crocheted washcloths and things like that. They're going from $10 to $42 for a set, depending on the material being used. So it really comes down to the one is from you is what you have in yourself.
Say it again. You broke up just
Start
a little.
looking at yourself a little bit. Oh, sorry. There's a lack of confidence that I'm hearing in you in your voice. You have to start believing in yourself a little bit more. And that means you need to write down who you believe you are and then start living that way. Even if you do it scared every day and you don't necessarily believe what you're saying yet, you will one day. It
Absolutely.
just takes time to be able to do that. And then as you align with yourself and as you start listening to what you wrote down of what your vision of who you are and what you're creating, all of that stuff starts to manifest itself through your actions in what you're doing. So I promise you, a lot of marketing right now is connection. It's not just about being a big business. It's how can I connect to that person? And then all of a sudden, you know, we have lots of groups that we can get you involved in and get you to meet other women who are starting businesses and things like that. But there is a lot of ways to actually make crocheting a full-time job.
I bet every one of us here could think of something that would be fun to buy that was crocheted. If you got some pictures up there, we'd all go, yeah, let's check out that keychain. Let's check out whatever that is.
So many custom, like bears and like monsters and things I've bought for my kids over the years. And newborn, like the foxes that are like for newborns that are crocheted, they go for $42 to $70 a crocheted animal. And
you know
so,
those blankets that are huge crochet, those like hand crocheted things that are so soft and giant? Love those soft things.
Yeah,
And we can even hook
I
you
do
up with
mostly
communities of
blankets.
people.
I do a lot of baby blankets, blessing blankets, that kind of stuff, just for family. So
Yeah. Yeah. But let's say that so here's the next levels. Once you have an idea, you have to focus in on what is your product, right? What do you do? Because you could be in a variety of ways, you know, the queen of all the world when it comes to crocheting, or you have to, and there's elements of diversification. So the first thing that's coming to your mind is, but I have to make some money because like I need eggs and milk and bread in my house, right? So
exactly.
exactly. So what you do is you create plans that integrate streams. So you don't just say, I'm gonna go all in, I'm gonna go get a big loan, like that's the worst way to start your business, is being in debt, because it immediately encompasses stress. Like I just took out a loan, therefore I have to be productive. So don't go, again, that's almost kind of a misnomer that is sometimes fed, is that if I'm going to start a business, I have to go get a big loan to start my business. You do not need to do that. You need to figure out ways that you kind of just start the process, and then you start to create streams. And as the streams are created, they start to generate their own income and their own money. But you'll have some streams that are more important than others, because like you need something that will provide for yourself. Now, I'm going to give you just a second to like ponder some of the thoughts that are coming into your head, because we haven't explored anything with your husband, and he was allowed to like smirk at you. So, what is your what's your husband's plan? Like what's his exciting thing that's like can't wait to get out of the bed in the morning?
He's gonna talk.
That's
Well, I
what
wasn't smirking.
Oh.
I chuckled. I didn't.
Oh, it was her impression that there was something that was.
No, painting me in a bad light just to start out with.
Well, I can't even
Yeah,
see
he's
you.
awesome.
You're already in a dark space just because that's where you're at on the screen. So,
Yes, I'm in the dark waiting to come into the light. No.
that's right. So what would make you excited? How do you want to get out of bed in the morning?
Well, maybe I look at things differently,
Okay.
and maybe not the appropriate way to look at things nowadays.
Absolutely.
The way
Why are you talking so negative? Like, say, I love the way I look at the world. I love the way
Well,
I see this stuff.
I some people say that I'm pessimistic. I like to say I'm realistic. In the
At
my
least
joke
you're
about that is,
embracing it. That's good. You're embracing it. So like that's
yeah,
authentic.
yeah, the joke about that is my blood type is A negative. I just put down A realistic.
There you go.
But No, as far as I know that it's a great motivational thing and it can be very successful to look for something in a field or some type of way to make money off of something you love
Okay.
on there. But I feel like, and maybe I'm alone, but I feel like depending on what you like to do, there may not be that big of a market for it, or there may not be that much demand, or, you know, I tend to look at things in the manner of this is what the bills are. This is how much money I've got to make every month just
Sure.
to cover the bills. Here's how much, you know, and all that. And then I start looking at what's available that will fill that need and hopefully do better than that, that would be fun or exciting or something I feel like I can get behind to do.
Okay.
That's
And
that's the way I approach it.
yeah, yeah. Well, and those are very practical. It's very practical, right? Because on the first level, you're saying realistically, even if I hate it, it pays the bills. But once I paid the bills, then I can look for things that I enjoy and maybe provide me more like that. I appreciate that that's a realistic way of looking at a two-pronged step, is that I can have fun after I've met my needs. Is that correct? Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes.
Yeah. But where you're in a spot where you don't have anything, you can look for things that you hate, or you could look for things that you enjoy that are still filling those two scenarios though, right?
Right. And currently I'm taking the approach of going down both paths.
Okay. And that's good.
Because there comes a point in time where the ability to make decisions will be made for you. Because you know, the one thing that I always feel like that's out there, that's the biggest obstacle, is time. Depending on how much money you have in savings, that can determine how much time you have to look for a job that you enjoy. I feel like, honestly, right now, I'm in the position I'm looking for a job that may not be the ultimate job I end up with, but it may be the job I take to get to the job that I want.
And I haven't heard anything wrong with what you're saying. That those are very practical because mortgages have time limits on them, cars have time limits on them, starvation has time limits on it. You know, so I
True.
like those are practical solutions about how you're looking at it. Now the next step is to say, because one of the best parts of my life was when I was in a tremendous jeopardy, and I had transitioned my law firm from St. George to Ogden. Jenny was helping me, but I was still building my clientele back up. And anytime your office is in transition, you have to reestablish clients, you have to reestablish connections, you have to reestablish like everything. And I was very stressed out because I did have to pay the bills and the rent and all those things. And I have 6 kids, and I think I had a son that was getting ready to go on a mission. So I was stressed out. But then I read Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. And I was driving from the Boston airport to Pittsburgh, and I'm gonna read to you what came up, because as soon as I read it, I was so mad. It said every man is what he is because of the dominating thoughts which he permits to occupy his mind. And what had happened is probably within 2 weeks of that trip or a week of that trip, I'd been kind of having a pity party with God. And I was like, I was on nonprofit boards. I was like serving, I was working, but I wasn't necessarily working or serving with a vision towards a specific outcome. Like I did not have in my mind a vision of what I was trying to overcome. I was hoping if I played by the rules and I was just a nice guy and I did everything that God said, then he owed me because I paid my tithing and I did everything. But I didn't have a vision. Like I did not have something that God was specifically trying to solve. Like I didn't ask God for anything, right? I wasn't living my life in a vision. And so when this phrase, and I put it in the chat, when it came to my mind, I was held so accountable, and it hit me. And I'm not kidding, I was pissed. I was so angry that I looked at my life and I said, my life is a direct result of the dominating thoughts in my mind. Like, I cannot blame any other person for my life right now. Like, the car I'm driving is my fault. The house I live in is my fault. Like I was so mad when I got that idea because there was absolutely no excuse. I had nothing that I could blame anybody for. And it totally revolutionized the way I saw my life. I mean, that is like literally day after tomorrow type stuff for me. And I was so pissed. I listened to the book a second time on the way from Pittsburgh to Rhode Island because I'm like, I have to get this. I have to understand how to change my life, because if it's all my fault and if the way I'm living is my fault, I am not gonna, this is changing. And I appreciate that I'm filtering out a bunch of swear words right now in my head because I was so pissed. I was so mad. You know, I'd been a bishop. I'd been all these things. Like, I felt like I had some information about God that told me that I was right. And as soon as that thought was put in my head, God was like, you're not right. You're not thinking correctly. You're not living with your vision, and you're not doing what's necessary to change your life and your family's life. The next year I doubled my money because I was so like, this is going to change. Like, this is not going to be the way I'm going to live my life. Then the next year I realized I was so exhausted after I did it that I became more efficient. So I made a little bit less money, but I had less expenses. So I actually made more money. And then, so I started to refine my life so that I started to add in not just money, but I added in enjoyment. Because I think living a rich life isn't just about working, it's also about how you enjoy your life, right?
Right.
And then I discovered Deepak Chopra's book, creating the A to Z's to creating affluence. And it's a very short book, and you can listen to it like in 15 minutes, the A to Z part, particularly if you listen at 2 times speed like I do. So if you get on Libby and you look up the A to Z of creating affluence, Libby is an audio library app with the Utah library system, so it's free. And it has these A to Z, and the very first one is that life is abundance, that there is plenty of money for everything. And then you get down to like G is like generosity, and C is carefree, and like there's all these good things. And I listened to that book every day for 6 months because I was literally like, I got to change my thinking. And what was so awesome is that was right before COVID. And what was surprising is even through COVID, I didn't lose money. And I'm solo. I'm a self-employed lawyer and entrepreneur. So there was definitely no reason. I mean, nobody was paying my paycheck. People just still kept coming because I changed the way I was engaging with the universe, right? So I say all that from this perspective is if you seriously just sit down and you didn't get fired because of you. I'm not saying that. I mean, life happens, right? There's another great book by Rabbi Harold Kushner who says when bad things happen to good people, and he has 3 comments on there. He says, 1, it's their choices potentially. 2, it's other people's choices that you just can't control because it's not like you didn't make the choice, but it does impact you. And 3, there's just randomness. He says 4th is not God. Like, God does not punish people. Life just happens to people, and they have to then connect with God to solve the problems relating to whatever they're going through. So you wouldn't want to say at any point in here, God's punishing you for something, because that would be incorrect. Because if you start to follow that through, why didn't God punish Hitler? Why didn't God punish like a whole bunch of people? But he's sure looking out for you. He's got you on his radar because for some reason you're so special that you didn't fall in line after Hitler. Like, so you can't say that God's punishing you. You can say, I may have made some choices that may lead to this situation. People have led choices, and there's also just randomness. But in all of the situations, God is without question going to help you get through it, right? Like, that's the plan, is that God calls, persuades, direct to right, persuades us with him, love and light, in nameless ways, is good and kind, and doesn't force the human mind. But he definitely is trying to help you solve your problem. So that's why I realized as soon as my dominating thoughts were, God, help me see the vision that I'm supposed to have, then I was in alignment with God, like Lisa was mentioning earlier. Once I was in alignment with God and I could direct my vision towards what God wanted me to do, it was amazing how stuff just started manifesting itself, right? Like even in the Book of Mormon, they talk about how if you see things with an eye of faith, then you see them in reality. Or God puts into your mouth, like this is one of the most common phrases throughout the Book of Mormon and other scripture is that God taught me the words that I should speak, or God put into my mouth the things that I should say, or I prayed the things that God put into my heart to pray. So those phrases tell you that now you're in alignment with God, and what's coming into your mouth and into your mind and into your heart is inspired by God, particularly if it ends up being good. And therefore, he's going to help you solve the problem. But you also have to, like Lisa said in her fire department situation, the first job is what they hoped was the answer, but God was like, you didn't hear me exactly. I want you to maybe pursue the fire department thing, but I need you to wait for the right one to show up. And then that's what happened. And they got that confirmation. So I think this is super exciting for you to be in this spot that you get to literally connect with God and wait for that stillness to come into your heart and mind and soul that says, this is how I should start walking. And you get to connect with God on that and say, is that what I should be doing? And then like Lisa, America mentioned earlier, you don't know how many people you know that could help you solve your problem until God brings them to your mind, right? Because you're going to sit down and say, like, these are some things that I love to do. Who could I talk to, God, that might help me build upon where I'm at? And you'll have a rush of people that you can start talking to that you just start using active, positive language, even if you're a pessimist, which is great, like realistic is good. But you can still say, I feel inspired to talk to so-and-so. And you go to them and you say, hey, I just feel inspired that maybe you could help me through some of what I'm going through right now. And you'll be impressed with just how people will have ideas and inspiration that starts to help you out. So I know I've done a lot of talking, I've monologued. So anybody else want to like fill in the gaps about what I've been saying?
I just want to say, is anyone still wondering why Travis is the head of this thing? He's got some really good stuff.
That's exciting. Go ahead, Lisa.
There's a quote that I like to remember, and it's called, I can be bitter or I can be better. And so a lot of times we have to remember things aren't going to be awesome. As much as, we're going to manifest this awesomeness and all these things, there are going to be hard things that we're going to have to go through as we walk that path. But we can either let it make us bitter or we can let it make us be better. And I think that's the important thing to remember is, hey, am I going to let my situation, totally tank me? Or am I going to keep that positive attitude and remember that because I have this, that I'm going to be able to see all the grateful things that are coming along on this path so that I can get through these hard things and not let it make me bitter.
Totally agree. And I'm going to even go with what Lisa's saying is if you're bitter, you're actually impeding the ability to feel the Spirit. So therefore, you're putting up an obstacle and an obstruction to the ability to get that manifestation from God because you're not leading with the eye of faith, right? You can say, I could do hard things and today sucks, but tomorrow's going to be super awesome. So God talk to me. So Steph, and I guess say your husband's there again. I apologize. He's so hidden that he's like only half a step in the darkness.
Oh, my name's Steve.
So I'm even saying so Steve and Steph, is that correct?
That's correct.
Wow, you guys are like that stuff's easy. So you guys have to make sure you're like, well, whose is it? It's Steve or Steph's. That's all. Okay, so Steve, what do you guys hear me saying? Like, is this like, do you have kind of thoughts and impressions coming to your head about like what's your next step?
Well, I think basically we're just still doing what we're doing. To be honest, this has been a really interesting situation in the fact that we have had a lot of, I call them little miracles, tender mercies. I mean, so this hasn't been awful.
Yeah.
I'm hoping with this change for Steve that because he was so stressed with this other job, it's actually been a blessing that he's out of it because I don't want him to have a heart attack and die on me. So, I mean,
That is so
they literally had a guy die on a phone call. I mean, so I mean, that's just how stressful it was. So I mean,
Uh-huh.
it's been a blessing to be let go.
Yeah.
It's just the unknown, and so I mean, I feel like we'll make it through this okay. Um, and I'm trying to be as positive as I can and everything like that. And I mean, he's been angry. I mean, we've all been angry. We'd like to go after the idiot that decided to cut the entire department. So,
But wait, here,
but
let me just take a stop right there. You just told him he did you a favor because your husband's not going to die.
yes.
Like you should take him out and get some gelato or like ice cream and say, like, look, you're a piece of work, but like you saved my husband's life. I am tremendously grateful.
That is true. I never thought of it that way.
You know, it's funny that you bring that up because the thought crossed my mind is once I regain employment, I would actually like to call the guy and invite him to go to lunch and
Thank him.
take him to lunch and thank him for letting our department go so that I could move on.
Absolutely. That is the
Mm.
right. I mean, isn't that the best attitude? Like that is where you're at, is like it's an exciting new opportunity.
Well, and I'm choosing to look at this. Okay, yes, yes, you have feelings of anger, but that's not anything that you're going to act upon in any kind of negative way.
I
You know,
also do
you-
criminal defense work if you need. So like,
We know a
But,
good attorney.
you can also look at it in that life is not easy. It's not supposed to be. We just need to make sure we're not making it harder than it needs to be, and that whatever lesson's supposed to come from this, I ask in my prayers that if I'm being thick-headed, hit me over the head with what the lesson is so I can learn it and we can move past this.
man, Steve, did you realize that you've just been hit over the head? This is one of those examples. Watch out what you're praying for, right?
Yeah, I quit praying for patience.
We're not allowed to do that in this house ever
That's good.
anymore.
Well, I'm super excited for it. Again. I think I've said that, and I think you think I'm crazy, but I appreciate that. This is like you just have identified so many blessings already with what's happened. It's like your health is already improving, like your mindset's improving. You've ended bondage, like you don't feel like you're in bondage. Like you have this new opportunity where you get to recreate freedom, recreate your relationship with each other, recreate a whole bunch of things, but plus start living with a faith-based action plan. Like this is super exciting. What we do in Steward Growth in your situations is that we would meet with you individually and we would help you create an action plan that actually lays out like goals. So you'd say like, these are some of my aptitudes, these are some of the things I have propensity for, and then we would create an action plan towards that we could help you achieve some of the goals that you're looking for. We then have, once we create an action plan, if it is in relation to startup stuff, we enter into a revenue share agreement with you as one of your partners because we believe in developing businesses. So we would want things to happen. We also connect you to other businesses, like Lisa has her own network, our own marketing business. So we collaborate. So we believe that we don't believe in competition. We believe in collaboration because we believe that the world is abundant and we can figure it out. So we're super excited about helping people grow in a way that manifests their highest potential so that they get to be excited about living and doing the things that are really passionate to them. I'm going to also add in that the language that we put into our head is part of the juice that helps us manifest stuff. And one of the best things that I've said to myself, because there's another book that's called Loving What Is. And in this book, she basically says life isn't hard, life isn't good, life isn't bad, life is just life. And if we just kind of like take it where we're at every day, like if we just say, this is what I'm experiencing today, we have the invitation to then we get to choose how we're going to experience that day. So if we wake up and we foster and fester inside depression, the day will be depressing. If you wake up and you say, like I did yesterday, because I was tired and I was like, I just need some creativity to start my day. I had a banana split for breakfast. It did not have any bananas, but I enjoyed it. I had huckleberry ice cream from Tillamook with blueberries and almonds, and I felt because I was having blueberry and almonds, it was pretty healthy. Plus, Tillamook is pretty clean, right? It's good cream. But it's okay to break the rules, right? You don't have to live in a world where you're like, I have to wake up and comply with everything I want to do, or I believe I'm supposed to do. I can wake up and break the rules and have a good day. And sometimes you have to constructively break the rules so you have a good day. Like if you want to be late for a meeting, or maybe you don't even want to go to the meeting, maybe you should just cancel. Like there's lots of stuff that we go through in the strategic manifestation group that talk about self-care and ways to foster manifestation that I think are super exciting for you. But if the creating the action plan is totally free. So I think we'd be awesome if we could meet with you guys and just say what's next. And um, I think there is a crocheting YouTube channel in like the future and TikTok channel, because like I think this is what's next for Steph. Like I still don't know exactly what's next for Steve, but we're
I
gonna
want to hear what his dream job is.
yeah, he really won't share it with us. Have you heard that? Like he's like, I got this like pessimistic, realistic, like 2-track thing going on, but I'm not
I
sharing it
can
with you
tell you
guys.
what his dream job is. He wants to be able to take people hunting up in Alaska.
Why not? Why not do that then?
People pay lots of money for that
They
stuff.
do pay lots of money for that.
Go hunt in Alaska.
Thank you,
It's
Stephanie, for helping your
overdone.
husband be creative.
It's overdone. It's not quite the niche thing that it once was.
Okay, so but what you just said is you identified the obvious. You have to create the niche to make it fun, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, that could be one of your streams. What would be another exciting stream?
Well, until my church calling changed this year, I volunteered with the Weber County Sheriff's Department
Okay,
for over 16 years. And I enjoyed what I did there as a volunteer.
good.
But as far as changing that into a career, the department that I volunteered in is very small staff, and it's one of those jobs that actually would not cover the expenses of paying the mortgage and paying the bills and all of
Okay,
that.
but all right, wait, but let's
Maybe
just
you
start
need a
with,
grant.
right. Let's just start with what you wanted to do. So you're already doing something that allowed volunteer work. We're a nonprofit. We help write grants. We could create that department that helps you solve that problem potentially, and there's probably a grant for it. So it's instead of saying I like that job, but I just don't think it'll ever work out. Say I like that job. I just need to ask the right questions so I could do it if I wanted to.
Let's figure out how to get you the jobs you like.
Because if you already have the connections, that's awesome. And the fact that you have the connections in Utah and in Weber County, there are other jails throughout the Utah and throughout the United States and throughout the world. So maybe instead of whatever you were doing being an isolated event just for Utah or just for Ogden, Weber County, maybe it's something where you create a nonprofit around that has grants that provide support services to jails throughout the country. And so now instead of just providing services for one area, maybe you're consulting and providing it on a larger scale. And there's probably 100% chance there's a grant for that, because there are lots and lots of grants that relate to corrections and to, support staff for, jails and services. So,
Well, actually,
Transitions, people that are leaving incarceration. You have
actually
15
what I
years of experience.
okay, well, tell us what you actually did there.
Actually, what I did there is I was the unit commander for the emergency communications team. We provided logistics support and emergency communications for logistics and medical and the command post with the emergency management department there.
Yeah, there has to be a
And
grant.
There's for sure a grant. Yeah.
And we worked a lot directly with FEMA as well, depending
Oh.
on what the situation was.
Oh yeah, I'm
And
sure there has to be emergency services grants and like emergency preparedness grants and like there's got to be something that we could help create that business.
You guys are so employable.
Thank you.
Isn't that exciting? Like Steve, like that's a pretty awesome job. If you have 16 years of experience with that,
Dang.
there's like 100% chance that you are able to build on those skills.
What were you doing before?
Well, my job I got paid for while I was doing that was the job I got paid for was senior network engineer, and for part of that career, I was also doing data security, network security.
That has nothing to do with jails. There's probably no crossover with security in jails.
Well, not data security.
Of
Data
course there's gonna
security
be
is very in
Usually-
demand.
Usually you don't you don't let incarcerated people near
no, but
network.
it's no, but that's like one of those areas where like they have all those crossover services that relate to like how do you track inmates, how do you like keep inmates, and like how do you manage inmates, how do you manage inmate data. So it's not that you're
Medical
necessarily
data.
yeah, medical data, like there's all kinds of stuff that, but now here's the bridge. What you have to do is kind of have that inspiration moment. Like this, like I know we're at the top of the hour, so this is what my last story. So anytime I was chickening out in my life, I realized it was time to sit down and write a prayer to God. Because when I wrote the prayer, I was able to have a dialogue with God in the exploratory process. And I was always amazed how things came out. Like I was super edified by these experiences. They're life-changing. This nonprofit's a result of that type of a prayer. But it helps you also brainstorm slowly because sometimes when you pray, you kind of wear out just because you're on your knees, or you wear out just because you're like, I just don't know what else I'm supposed to say. But sometimes if you just pray as you're pondering and you're writing down the thoughts that are coming into your head, it's amazing how illuminating the process is. So if you started to brainstorm, what does my former job have to do with the job I actually love to do for 16 years? And maybe how could I be a resource? That's how you become a private contractor. That's how you become like a nonprofit connected to the jails as a resource. I mean, there's a variety of ways you could incorporate your idea. You just have to kind of get the inspiration from God about how could it be potentially created or networked based upon the people you know. And since you like those people, then you would go to the jail and you'd say, how many other people could I meet? Because maybe that jail program that you were part of needs a coordinator in Mississippi, or needs a coordinator in Alabama, or needs like your job, the thing you liked, might have a coordinator who needs a job somewhere else. And you have 16 years of experience in that.
And maybe they need crochet therapy in the jail.
They do need crochet. Well, we have to have like some kind of other needle because then the needle is problematic.
Oh.
So.
Okay. That's a very good point.
Hey,
That's the
now
hand
we
crochet.
know that America's
You
trying
can
to
do
create
hand crochet. America,
I was gonna
what?
say though, Steph, you already have, because you've given blankets and stuff to people, you already have people who can do testimonials. And you
Yep.
don't have to ask for all your money up front. You can ask for the deposits and say how long it's gonna take you. And then you can get your deposits and use that to buy all of your materials and then ask for the rest at the end. So there are ways to make this fully functioning if that's really what you want.
That going along with what Lisa just said, my mom has a 5-year plan for quilts. She's a quilter and she makes quilts. Sometimes she sells them, sometimes they're just gifts. But she knows her schedule enough that she says, this is when I would get to your quilt, and people will bring her like high school, the t-shirts, like there's like the track invitational t-shirts, or one person brought in like the In-N-Out burger t-shirts. And so she would make these quilts. Well, she sold them. So now she has this referral. Like she never has to ever ask for jobs. And she's retired. So she kind of like even limits the jobs she gets. But that's exactly what you would do, is you have all these people who know your skill. And now you just say, there's some that are free and there's some that cost money. And then you just put them on a schedule.
Showing
could
your
do
past
pull-ups.
work is awesome.
Say it again, Lisa.
Oh, make sure you just show your past work. And then if people have sent you pictures, the ones of your family who have the babies in it and they don't mind you using those things, those are great things to advertise because it's things people connect with, especially where we're in a place where a lot of people have baby blessings. Those blankets are something that they remember and they want something of quality. So
Absolutely.
You can deliver quality, you can deliver, something in a timely manner, and it can be something you love. It is doable.
And then what you do is you create the Instagram, because that lets you show your different quilts, but then people create stories in which they show how your thing was hosted. So you like, this is an awesome blanket that I was created by my mom or grandma or whatever, right? Or my best friend, or so. Anyway, I know we're at the top of the hour. I need to do other things also. So I love this group. I'm grateful that we could all join in. I hope that we can join again next month. And we also have the the business toolbox, which is coming up, as well as the strategic manifestation, which is coming up. So those are others that, you know, Steve and Steph, you guys can join, and we'd love to have your participation. The cool thing is once you start having experiences of your own, you'll come to this group and start adding, this is how I did it, and this is how I got through. Like you're not visitors to the group, you're part of the group, and that would be super exciting if you kept coming back. But also, America and Jenny can help you schedule a time that we could create an action plan, and it could be super awesome.
Awesome. I see
Any other-
Jenny on Sundays, so
Yeah, you know where she lives.
I do.
Any other closing thoughts before we sign out?
I'd just say thanks. You guys have been at least helped me feel a little bit better about myself. You know, you just go through a roller coaster. So I
Absolutely.
know there's nothing wrong with me. It's just sometimes it gets frustrating.
Feel free to contact us. That's why we have the Facebook support groups.
Okay.
Yeah, and then definitely it'll be fun to connect with you on the action plan and just to get to know you better and just to help you outline it. And I'm very excited about both sides because my wife was a crocheter of the burp cloths and the blankets. And we had my wife, I don't even know how many balls of yarn we went through as she went through like creating burp cloths and blankets. So I love that as just nostalgic. And on the criminal side, Jenny and I have done lots of work at the jails. I used to teach Sunday school at the jail in Oregon when I was in law school. So I think being able to build a support system around which you'd already like to do, Steve, that could be super fun. So hopefully there's a lot more we can collaborate on and build on, and that would be super fun.
We need to connect him with our felons group too. I bet Daniel has some people.
Yeah, that would be, I
And no
think that
jail
would be good.
people.
All righty. So you guys have a great one. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll
Bye.
stay.
Luck, you guys.